got it.
What's up? What's up? What's up? I am your girl, Yuta K. Best, and this is Hella Random Radio, where positive energy lives. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Today, I have Mr. Michael Knight with me. Y'all will probably be getting fairly familiar with him as he's going to be co-hosting a lot of these upcoming shows. And our guest today is Mr. Kayron Valentine, author of Beyond the Crack Generation and educator, consulting expert. Is that fair to say?
I'll take it.
Awesome. So, Kayron, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself?
What you want to know? You got
I guess I want to start kind of at the beginning. Like, what is it that compelled you to write a book called Beyond the Crack Generation?
right on. Okay. That was my childhood, growing up during that crack epidemic, the 80s and 90s. What compelled me to write it was me having children now. And realize it wasn't until I got older and realizing a lot of the stuff that was common in my childhood and in my neighborhoods where I grew up, what was not common for my children. Right. And, you don't know what you don't know. So it's one of those things where I thought that's just how it was. And then when I really started to think about, like, wait a minute, I started to think about a lot of the norms that I grew up with and that my peers grew up with. I started realizing, like, something's not right about that. Because my mom didn't go through it, my children didn't go through it. So that means there's something going on with this generation. And because I was born, I was born in the 80s, right? So crack was already here. So I don't have any pre-memories of how it used to be. So, if this is what you're born into, you think this is what it is.
Right.
So I just wanted to really tell document a story, not like not a fairy tale, but document that time period in a way where it's not sensationalized. Like, this is not an urban gangster tale where I'm about some, big time dope dealer and I'm telling you about, it's none of that. It's literally, as a young black man, or a young black male in general, because I was a kid at the time, it was just what it was like. You know what I'm saying? And again, a lot of the stuff that was common, I recognize is not normal, but I just like, okay, or not healthy. And I just want to document that.
Right. And so what kind of things are we talking about? Like, what kind of experiences? It sounds like you were maybe very young, when the crack was really predominant and affecting people in a major way. So how do you think that it personally affected your life?
Well, it's a lot. And again, when I say that's why I talk about the crack era, the generation, not just crack itself. And so I could tell you a few things. Okay, so during this time period, first thing I would say is, and I can go back younger, and I'll go back younger in a minute. But what this epidemic did was it inverted the generational rankings in our community. People want to know, like, what happened? What's up with our kids? Because remember this, and during the crack era, if you remember how that time period, if you saw crack dealers on the corner, you saw kids on the corner. It was the kids who were selling it. Yeah. It was the adults who was smoking it. So it flipped our whole perception. Again, if this is all that we know, we don't know anything before this. So now you have a 13-year-old kid and a 40-year-old man. He's supposed to be the provider, protector, the one that we all look up to. No, and I say this respectfully because I think I shared with you before, I'm very intentional about taking the shame out of it as much as I can, because it was chemical warfare.
Right.
Yeah. But with that being said, you got a 13-year-old kid serving a 40-year-old man, right? And if you know how that epidemic was and how powerful that drug was, that man or woman would be almost willing to do anything.
Yeah.
For this little pebble that I may have in my hand. And I got a whole pocket full of them, and I'm only 13. See what I'm saying? What does that, or 15 or whatever, what does that do to our psyche?
Yeah.
So it already broke the respect level. It broke the generational pecking orders in our communities. where now the kids have the respect and the adults are, I don't, you get it. You know what I'm saying? The adults are powerless because on top of it, again, talking about the psyche, and then I say I'll go back in a minute, but talking about the psyche, if I don't spend 5, 6, 7, 8 hours on the corner in this environment, and I got all this false, it's a false sense of power, this false power.
Yeah.
When I go home, what really can an adult tell me?
Yeah.
When I go to school, if I go to school, what can this teacher tell me? I'm making more money than this teacher, right?
Yeah.
I'm putting groceries in the refrigerator, right?
Yeah.
And then what comes with the dope? If I got dope in one pocket, guess what? Over time, if I'm out there long enough, I'm gonna have a pistol in another pocket. So now I'm getting all this false sense of power. I got a gun. I got all of these type of things, right? So that's the first part of just talking about how our psyche was different.
Yeah.
But then we also talk about this era is also where they didn't call it this at the time, but gangster rap, reality rap, was booming, right? Now, the challenge with that is, again, I'm born in this era. I don't have, Marvin Gaye and Al Green are not my oldies. This is my parents' oldies. I heard it, but it's not my oldies. My oldies are NWA, Too Short, DJ Quick. You see what I'm saying? So just think about what that did to my psyche or to our psyche when it comes to just relationships. Relationship with my fellow brother or my relationship with a woman.
Yeah.
I mean, we grew up, I'll be respectful with my language, but the bees and the hoes, the niggas, and you know what I mean? So it's just a total blatant disrespect of everybody around me. You know what I'm saying? So as a kid, I'm taught in this era to disrespect everybody around me and manipulate the best way I can and get from you all that I can get. This was a unspoken psyche that was translated through our whole culture. So that's why I wanted to write about this.
Gosh.
Wow. And I'm glad you did. I definitely cannot wait to read it because my parents smoked crack, but we were in a very small town most of the time, or in a really big town. Like we moved from San Diego to Pueblo, so San Diego is huge.
Big, yeah.
And I, was going to school and coming home. So where they was getting it from, I know not. And when we went to a small town, it was kind of the same thing. I know not. So I don't think that everybody who was affected by that drug understands that there was a shift for certain people in that hierarchy, because I don't know any kids who were selling it. So this is very interesting. I'm definitely glad to hear that. That's really deep.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's interesting that Liz, I was around during that time. I'm pretty old, so I was practically an adult. When all that was going on, I was somewhat in LA at that particular time, and it's interesting to see that from my perspective. I just kind of I was so close to it, but just different, and I dabbed in it. I knew people that were kind of in that lifestyle, but when you'd explain that kind of hierarchical shift, you literally just destroyed it all within one generation, and it almost begs the question: how do you recover from such a devastating thing? I mean, crack was clearly something that physically we could see, and in the communities it happened in ways that destroyed it. But from a societal perspective, to be able to destroy a community of people in such a complete way is honestly diabolical, if intentional.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. That's the reason, again, why I wrote the book, because we know about the mass incarceration, right? We know the damaging effects it did to families and things of that nature, right? But that unspoken damage, that cultural damage, that communal damage is not as much talked about, right?
Yeah.
Because again, we were dealing with, and we're in a capitalist society. So, we're taught buy low, sell high. You know what I'm saying?
All the time.
I buy a box of potato chips for $5, sell them for 50 cents a piece, and make $10, right?
Yep. Call profit.
Yeah. So what happens when you're dealing with this crack epidemic, again, dealing with young people and kids and things of that nature, it was like magic beans.
Yeah.
It was literally like you could start today, and I talk about this in the book, you know, I mean, unlike the movies where everybody, you know, you talk about these dope dealers, everybody was so hard or so tough.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that. You know what I'm saying? It was like, because I lived in Pasadena. I've lived in Indiana, and that's where a lot of my point of reference comes from, because we hear about the big cities, you know, New York, Atlanta, but these little small towns, like where I lived in Indiana, it devastated them.
Yeah.
And what I was about to share is, contrary to popular belief, a lot of the young men, particularly, it was young ladies too, but particularly young men that was selling this stuff, they wasn't hardened criminals.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm living in a neighborhood and my neighbor decides, okay, my 15-year-old neighbor decides he's gonna start selling crack, and I'm going to school, I'm not touching that, right? I don't do any of that, but I got to walk by him every day, and he's my buddy, he's my neighbor. If every day he's like, hey, Ron, what you doing going to school? You know, you can make money like this, and I've
like this, right?
Yeah, big wad of hundreds, and we kids.
Absolutely.
It's only gonna take a few days before I finally say, okay, so what I got to do, right? And it was like magic beans, you know, without getting too deep in it. It was like 20. It's called a double up. $20 get you $40, $40 get you 80. You know what I mean? So I done turned 1 into 2, 2 into 4, 4 into 8. By the end of the night, I'm a full-time crack dealer. This morning, I was a aspiring dentist. You know what I mean? By the end of the night, literally, I'm a full-time crack dealer because I think I found it.
Yeah.
And, you know, and it was a lie, you know. And have you ever heard of a group called Dead Prez?
Oh my gosh.
Okay, right on. Yeah, they have a interlude or intro where they use the example of hunting wolves, how you hunt wolves. And they say what like Native Americans used to do, the indigenous people, they would put blood on a blade of a knife, put some blood on it.
Yeah.
Stick the knife in the ground and let the knife protrude out the ground. The wolf will smell the blood and lick the blade. Now, when a wolf licks the blade, obviously he's going to cut his tongue.
Yeah.
When he cuts his tongue starts to bleed.
And they follow him.
So, but now he's tasting that blood. So the more he tastes the blood, the more he wants to lick the blade. Oof. Not knowing that he's actually killing himself. He's eating his own blood. And that's what happened in our communities. We thought we was getting rich. We thought we was coming up. We thought we found it. No, you're eating your own blood. You're eating your own community.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're profiting off of death, off the pain of your own people.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Now, fast forward and looking back, we see that. But during that time, it was glorified. Again, it was in the movies. It was in the music. It was just the thing to do. And nobody, you know, it was in jokes. You know, like, being for real, and like I say respectfully, I've never laughed when somebody uses that term crackhead. It's never been funny to me. Even as a kid, it wasn't funny to me. You know what I mean? Because the joke is on us. You know what I'm saying? This was warfare. I even knew that as a kid, you know, but yeah.
Yeah, that's deep. I mean, and to talk about the cultural influence, again, I have a completely different view of that situation as a child growing up with parents who are using this drug. Yeah. And, you know, I was lucky, you know, because I have a natural aptitude, you know, for school or just learning in general. I can read a book and spit it back out at you.
Wow.
You know, so I was able to do very well in school and go on to become an engineer, you know, but mostly because my home was so shattered, I was completely shaped by the school system and by the system in general. And I didn't realize it probably until like 36, 37 years old, but there was no way if I hadn't left corporate that I was ever going to find a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
You know, so they didn't destroy me as far as my ability to make money, but they pretty much destroyed me as far as an ability to be a happy human.
Yeah.
So that's a whole nother aspect that's really, really deep.
You know, it's interesting. See, you found a healthy outlet, right, to deal with a lot of stuff. You found it in education, and that's powerful. You know, because a couple of on top of that, there was something in you that you knew your greatness somehow, some way. You tapped into your greatness, where a lot of people, unfortunately, on top of, you know, this dynamic that we just discussed, the low self-identity, the low self-image that says I'm not good in school, I'm not good at this, I'm not. So they, so then they end up going to, maladaptive coping mechanisms, as we call it.
Got it.
So it's just amazing that you was able to go that route. It's kind of like when you have two people because personality, and it's like a mystery. I can't put my finger on it, but you could have two people grow up in the same house, right? Brother and sister, they could be twins. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
One grows up to be this positive pillar in the community. The other one is in prison, and it's a very interesting dynamic. So, I give thanks that whatever it was in you that you tapped into, caused you to channel it in academics.
Yeah, well, I definitely appreciate that, but I also feel like, especially between leaving corporate at like 33 and really starting to find myself, maybe approaching 40, I didn't think that it was really that much of a gift, because I realized how conditioned I was and that I did not know myself at all. And in this society, you don't want to be finding yourself, in your late 30s. That's kind of wild. But I am grateful, for everything at this point, now that I really am. And to your point, I really think that the difference between those beings is kind of destiny. I think that it's not that I found my greatness as much as I was just meant to be sitting here in this way today. Like, I totally believe in free will, but the more I read cards and spend time in the field and doing this magnetic mind work, I'm starting to believe that there's some strange paradox going on between free will and predestination. I think there's a lot of things that were just meant to happen the way that they happen.
Yeah. And free will is a very interesting concept because it's deception. It's deceiving because you're only free to make the choices that you're aware of. You see what I'm saying? We could look at people and say, you're free, you got free will. You could just, but we don't know what we don't know, right?
Right.
You could lock a baby, it sounds crazy what I'm about to say, but you could lock a baby in a room and that baby is going to wither away, right? They would never get out. But you could say, you got free will, just get out. The baby doesn't even know, can't even comprehend that they're even in a dangerous place, let alone how to get out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in our communities, it's like that a lot of times, right? Like a lot of people don't even really see it like that this is a detrimental situation I'm in. This is just what it is, right? Let alone how do I get out? Then we'll say, but you got free will, just get out. My free will is based on my consciousness. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You're not aware you're in a room. What's all of you can freely think inside this box. And is that really freedom? I totally hear you in that way. And that's one of the things I think we, as a people, we really should be trying to do is to get people realize that we're in boxes, and corporations use these boxes to pump all kinds of stuff into us and tell us all kinds of things that aren't even true about who we are as a person, and make us dissatisfied for all kinds of weird reasons. But this whole idea of having you can have freedom of thought, but if you can't think past what's in front of you, what does that do? Hey, I'm free to think, but right now I need to eat. So I'm trying to freely think about where am I going to get my next meal, which is what I need is right now. So freedom of thought on its own sounds great, and it certainly fits well on a postcard and on T-shirts. But when it gets to the practical aspects of it, then it gets muddy, and it can't really be put in something that can fit into a bite-sized thing. It's something that really gets applied to each individual in each situation that they're in. And in your case, Yuta, jumping into education, we both of us, me and Ron, K-Ron, sitting here thinking, wow, that's wonderful that you're able to get that kind of reinforcement. And then you're looking at it like, hey, now I'm 33 years old, and now I'm brainwashed. I don't really know who I am. I've had freedom, but I'm not really free, right? And we're all, and I'm admiring because I didn't have even though I'm a smart person, I know that now, but in school, I barely passed. I went to summer school a bunch of times. Boy, I went to a bunch of summer school. But the reality is my mind wasn't free enough to be able to realize that how can I make A's in summer school and then go back to regular school and to barely pass and I still think I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
I'm not really an idiot. It's just the way they're teaching me isn't working.
Absolutely.
Right. And I'm getting really tender in the heart, like just having this conversation. And I appreciate Kayron's like angle and always trying to take the edge off of things. Because I talked to a lot of people who want to blame a person's dysfunction on them. And to a certain extent, yes, we do have to be responsible for ourselves. But on the other hand, like you said, you don't know what you don't know. I'm not, necessarily going just because the internet is there and I can learn anything that I want to learn. I may not even understand that I can learn how to undo this painful situation that I'm living in. Most people are probably thinking that what they're living in is exactly what it is. And they just got to make it through each day.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is really deep.
You know what? And there's a statement that I learned from Bob Proctor. He said, no one operates beyond the boundaries of their own self-image. So it's like a thermostat. If I set my thermostat to 72 degrees, if it gets colder in my office than 72 degrees, the heat is going to come on and warm this room back up to 72 degrees. Right? If it gets warmer than 72 degrees in my office, the air is going to come on and cool it down back to 72 degrees. Our self-image is the exact same way. Whoever we think we are, we're going to always bring ourselves back to that, even if that means self-sabotage. Yeah. So, it's like, who do you think you are, right? We would tell ourselves that. And our self-image also dictates our aspirations. Like in this book, Beyond the Crack Generation, I share a story where because we're talking about like we don't know what we don't know and how we want to blame, but you could say, yeah, you got the internet, but if I don't know, if my self-image doesn't allow me to look up, entrepreneurship and how to start a business, I'm gonna keep scrolling on TikTok or whatever, right? Because that's what my self-image tells me. So in this book, I went to San Diego State, and I remember partying with these white guys. It's a white party, and if I give details like that, it's for a reason. So we're partying and we just having fun and all of this type of stuff, and they're like, yeah, we're about to study abroad. I never heard of that. I'm like, what is that? In my mind, went way somewhere. I didn't know what they talking about, right?
Yeah, right.
So he said, I'm gonna study abroad, and I'm like, okay, what is that? That means, they told us that they're going to go and, travel. They was going to Greece. They still continue their studies there, but they're still under the umbrella of San Diego State. I said, man, that's tight.
That is tight.
Dang. Man, let me know how that go, man. When you come back, I want to see you. I want to see some pictures.
Yeah.
But it never once, not one time did it even cross my mind that I could do the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm at the same, we're at the same school.
Yeah.
What I should have been asking is, what office did you go to so I can go? But in my head, remember I said, I'll tell you details for a reason. These are white guys. This is stuff that white people do.
Yeah.
So that's for y'all. People like me don't do that. I'm just happy that I'm in college at all. Right? My self-image wouldn't even allow me to entertain the opportunity that was in front of me. So yeah, they could say, well, you could have went too. My consciousness wouldn't even allow me to consider that as a option for me. Right. It wasn't until I was in my 30s that I was like, wait, why didn't I study abroad? Right? Why didn't I? And then I started thinking back. It never crossed my mind, not one time.
Wow.
Right. I heard that.
Yeah. Yep.
It's deep stuff. So all y'all out there listening, be nice to people. I feel like
going through some stuff.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I feel like it's really safe to say that most people are doing the best that they can with what they know.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna switch up the topic a little bit, even though I feel like it's jumping ahead, and then we'll probably jump back again. But before you came on, Michael and I were talking about code switching. And it just made me think because I remember when we met last week, you said that you've pretty much always been able to be yourself in your work. Do you feel like you've ever really had to code switch?
No, no. You know, and like I said before, I mean, respect. I get it. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't think it's a bad thing. I think I think it's strategy, you know, to know how to
Yeah.
code switch and things of
Yeah,
that nature.
totally.
I've just never been in those situations. If anything, I had to code switch as a young man to the streets. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying?
Wow.
My code switch was more of that. Like, you know, like I say, growing up in this era, there was certain things that's like, nah, I'm not cool with that. But I had to code switch and wear this mask to be like, I'm with that. You know what I'm saying? So, but code switching the other direction, not so much. Now, of course, I mean, I know how to tighten up where, you know what I'm saying, where I'm not full blown informal. You know what I mean? I still have professionalism about me.
Yeah.
But I've always been K-Ron, what you see is what you get. You know, I'm just, whether I got on suit and tie or a t-shirt and khakis, I've always been me. Like, yeah.
That's
I tried.
wonderful.
Now the thing is, I tried doing corporate, but
Mm.
only lasted like 2 weeks. I realized early it's not for me. It's not for. I mean, I was. I
Not easy,
survive.
boy. I swear it's
I
not.
couldn't get through the orientation. Like, I didn't pass that. It was so because of that though.
Yeah. I mean, and do you think though, so how old were you when you tried to get into corporate-ish, you know?
I was 19.
Oh, okay.
It was for Pacific Bell. You remember Pacific Bell?
Yeah,
Yes.
man, that's taking us back.
That's back. Yeah. It was
Very
Pacific Bell phone company. And they told us, they said it in the orientation. They say, look, we have a machine. And they say, if you try to go against this machine will grind you into dust. That's what they
said?
This is the first
I believe
day.
it. I believe
the
it.
First day. It will grind you to dust. That's what they told us, right? And yeah, and they had a strict policy about time. You have to be on time. If your shift starts at 9 o'clock,
Yeah.
9:01, you are late.
Yep.
Ain't no grace period, 0. So I remember coming in one time, like, again, I'm young, 9:01. They said, that's your warning. You got one more time and you're fired.
Yeah. Yep.
So it happened. I came in at 9:01 or 9:02. I wasn't trying to. It just, you know, I'm still in college. They said, you're done here. This place is not for you. You know, but we thank you for your time. And then I said, but, you know, I tried to do some explanation. They said, no, I don't want to hear it. If you continue to stay here, we will arrest you for trespassing. You are no longer, this is my experience with corporate. So I've said, this is not for me. They told me I'm trespassing in the middle of a conversation. They say, you no longer work here.
Oh my gosh. Were you in a call center? That sounds like call center mentality.
Yeah, listen, I don't forgot. Yeah, I think it was call center. Yeah. Like I was supposed to get into sales, like pitching they stuff and upselling. Yep. So with all that being said, I learned early that I'm probably not going to be the corporate America guy, you know. And I went in a whole nother direction, you know.
And knowing what you know now, do you think that was a blessing? Like, well, first, before we jump ahead, what did you do immediately following losing that job?
Yeah.
Like, how did you feel? And you know, what was your response?
That's a good question. I never really thought about it. Let's see. My response was, I got to get off this property before they call the police on me.
Hurry up.
I'm trespassing. This guy
oh my gosh, boy.
That's my response. Let me figure this out first. I'm not trying to go to jail late for 1 minute, you know what I mean?
Over a job.
So that's my immediate response. So then once I left there, I was hot, you know what I mean? Because I was already getting into a consciousnness. Again, another part of the story is I know that I probably had a very rebellious presence there too. Because I'm reading these books, I'm reading Black consciousness books, I'm reading it on my breaks. Let me tell you this story. I'm reading this Black conscience book on my break, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was a sister that worked there. And again, like I said, if I use the script, it's for a reason. She had like a total quote unquote sellout, you know, anything. Yes. Like just whatever. Didn't want to talk to me, all of that. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm reading this book on my break. This quote unquote sellout comes to me, sit next to me. and says, now mind you, she talks very code switchy, right?
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
You got the full mask on.
She's her.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, right? She sits next to me. She said, hey, brother, don't let these folks see you reading this. You know what I'm saying? If you're gonna read something like that, you put on a book cover. I get what you're doing, but that's not the way to do it. Do you understand? You may not know this, but my peoples, my parents were revolutionaries from da 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 da, and they taught me da da da. You know, she said, so don't let these folks see your cards. If that's what you want, that's what you want, but don't let them know your business. Then left, hey sir, and went right back to the code switching. Like, didn't even wait for me to respond, just left. Hey, I said, whoo, she cold. That's just
Wow.
You see, that's why I don't judge nobody. Like, you never know.
You never know.
That's why I said, quote unquote, you know, we can say something. You don't know what people is it.
Nah, you really don't.
So I say all that to say, yeah. So I was in that mindset. So when I left, I was upset because I'm like, it's the system and all of that. But you know, it wasn't in my cards or my destiny to go that route, you know.
Yeah.
I had a whole nother call. Everything about my energy was not that, you know. So
right.
I just tried it out.
Right. And I don't even know how relevant this is, but I'm just really interested at this point. So were you that 13-year-old, or were you really focused on school and just knew the 13-year-olds who were selling?
I was in between. I wasn't focused on school at all.
Okay.
No, I wasn't focused on school, but I did come from a strong support system with my mom. My mom always told me, you're going to college.
Right.
Now, how to get there, I don't know, because school wasn't my thing.
Right.
Now, I'm surrounded by that 13-year-old. Now, I never went that route to be a crack dealer. But everybody around me were, you know what I mean? All my partners. I mean, I may have a couple partners that didn't do it, and I tend to gravitate to them at times, but all around me, that's what they did. You know what I'm saying? So I was just surrounded by it. And so that's why, like, I was in that culture. You know, I was always in that culture. Yeah. But I wanted to be a rapper.
You know okay. I can see that.
I was going to be a rapper for sure. Like, that's it. You know, they couldn't tell me nothing. I'm a rap. I already know.
Living the dream.
Yep, that was my everything, you know.
Yeah, you were in that third niche. So probably everybody respected you because you had some bars on some level. I would imagine.
I had super bars. Yep, you know, I was pretty cool, you know, but I was an introvert though. That's another thing though.
You're right.
Yeah,
that makes sense. So how did you get to college? Since school was not your focus.
By the grace of God. I'll be honest with you, by the grace of God, because school was never my focus. I didn't carry books in school. You know what I mean? I remember taking the SAT, and I didn't even know I had to take the SAT. My mom was on me. Mm-hmm. So I had been partying all night. I mean, all night, going hard, you know. And then my mom wakes me up and is like, K-Ron, you got the SAT today. I'm still spinning from last night. I take the test and do very well on the test.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I had that, you know, honestly, I had a natural intelligence about me. You know what I mean?
For sure.
And back to your point, when you was talking about school, like not being a good student, what they were teaching me and how they were teaching me, it just didn't click. Yeah. I didn't know that I was brilliant in other ways, right?
Absolutely.
But I had, and to continue to answer that question, I had people that could see it in me.
Yeah.
So sure. I remember like one of my teachers.
The most important person too.
Yeah. I remember one of my teachers where I wasn't doing good in his class, saying, if you perform in this assembly, I was a rapper, if you rap in this assembly, I'll give you extra credit, the extra credit you need to pass the class, like stuff like that.
Wow.
Yeah. It was just divine.
That's grace right there.
Divine intervention.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's how I got to college. Yep.
Wow.
Right. And it sounds like on your SAT, you probably got that, they always tell you the first thing that you think is right.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I'm realizing just here, literally in this conversation, you know, some of what kind of broke me from the pack was not just that I was good in school, is that even though I was not necessarily spiritual, I had a strong intuition. And I just always kind of end up being where I'm supposed to be when I'm supposed to be there. And so even though I didn't necessarily know who I was, for instance, I'll go to this place and have a conversation or pick up a book and find clues, so that's really dope. So I assume you graduated from college and went directly into teaching. Is that
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. So when I graduated, by this time I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to go back to community and teach the people, right? So I became a teacher. And again, because I was such a disengaged student, that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to teach, ironically, because I wanted to speak to the young people who are not into school like that. I never had a black male teacher. I never had a male teacher of color at all through my whole public school experience.
Wow.
So I wanted to be that. But I ended up going back. I didn't have a teacher credential. I ended up going back and teaching at a private school called Omawale Ujamaa. It's an African Center school.
Wow.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah. So I taught there for 2 years, and then we started a charter school. And I taught there for 3 years. So I ended up teaching for 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Wow. So you were a principal agent and starting your own school?
Yeah. Yep.
Wow. I didn't know about that part.
Yeah, I was a part of the board of directors because the executive director of Omawale was like, I'm really thinking about starting a charter school. And I'm like, you should do it. So she started doing the research. She said, I'm gonna put you on my board. I was only 22,
Wow.
Yeah,
you
look
know what
at
I'm
that.
saying? And she was like, you represent the youth. You're gonna bring that young voice that we need. So I was on the board. We canvassed the community, let them know this new school is coming, what it's about. Yeah, I was there the whole time for the whole process to start the new school. And it was an amazing experience.
Wow.
It
What grade
sounds
kids were
like
they?
it.
What grade kids were they?
Which ones did I talk?
Yeah, at the school.
Okay, so the school went from preschool up into 8th grade.
Okay, yeah.
The private school.
Yeah.
And then the charter school, it went from middle school into high school.
Okay, so you guys had like a funnel? Like you
Yeah.
fed each other?
Yeah. And I taught middle school.
Okay.
So
Wow.
I taught 8th grade 7th grade first year, 8th grade second year. Then I taught 6th grade the next 3 years.
And
Boy,
what
it's the
started
perfect time to be on it. It's the perfect time for you for the type of leadership and for that taste. It's such an instrumental time for young adults in middle school. It's so tough for teachers because they're dealing with so much. There's education and there's hormones and they're trying to establish themselves and social constructs and all that stuff is becoming a big deal for them. It's so many things coming on at that integral time, at least from my perspective. And it's interesting for you to be to be there. I'm sure you did wonderful things and change those kids' lives in ways that and in ways you wouldn't have known just by being who you are.
Absolutely. And here's the funny thing about it. Those kids are 30 now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right. Oh, wow.
Like 30 now, like literally, I've seen them. I remember my very first student, like when I first started teaching.
Yeah.
Right? You can't see it, but he came to my office.
Mm-hmm.
He had the key because I've stayed in touch with him. I stay in touch with a lot of my students, well, not a lot, but a handful of them.
Yeah.
He gave me a key. And he said he has a condo downtown LA.
Yeah.
I just want to give you this key. And you can use it whenever you want. He's just so thankful for the impact I have made on his life.
Yeah.
He was like, I just want to give you this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You want to, I was like, that was powerful. Just you coming in, just you having the condo was enough for me.
I've
to see you shining,
Yeah, man. I've mentored people and then they come in and thank you. And it's like, you have no idea, just seeing you is thanks, more than thanks enough, right? You well up in so much emotion, it just overpours to see a person move and be in a place that you knew they would, but then see them there. It's just never, it's never as you anticipated and always more satisfying than all the work that you could have actually done to get them there.
Absolutely. And I tend to gravitate to some of the most challenging, pretty much young men, young ladies too. I do have some young ladies that I mentor, but mostly young men. So it's very interesting. Like I said, they're 30 now. It's just very interesting to hear the paths that many of them have to go through to get to where they are now.
Yeah.
Right.
And they like, You know, some of them had to go to the pen, you know, some of them did this, some of them did that. And they say, never forgot what you said, you know, as they go through their turns, and they still hold on to those lessons. It's like, I finally got it. I got one young man who called me, and I mean, 2 strikes, this going, he on probation, you know, all of that. He said, I finally got what you've been telling me. You know, he had to go through a whole lot, you know, because we all past. You know, that's another thing. I don't judge people's past, because people have different paths. Like, I can't say like we all make mistakes and stuff like that, because it's not always a mistake. You know,
right?
Yeah.
You know,
meant to be, predestination.
Yeah, it's not always a mistake. Sometimes it's just the path you on. You know what I mean? So even when I'm working with somebody, I'm taught I'm responsible for the process, not the outcome. If I'm too attached to the outcome, I'm gonna be judging you the whole time during the process.
Yeah. Wow.
I'm trying to fix you. I'm trying to get you somewhere. I'm trying to, you know, you going this way, and I'm like, no, but sometimes you got to go that way to go around to finally get this way, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you know. So I just stay focused on that person, who they are right now, and plant what I can and point them to the direction. Now, if they go that way, that's on them. But at least I'm gonna let them know, look over here. Because sometimes some people have never even looked over here to be like, what? Right?
Yeah.
We don't know what we don't know. Back to what we said. I at least want to make you aware of something over here. I can't tell you to turn. I mean, I could tell you, but I can't force you to turn that way.
Yeah.
But if this is enticing enough, you'll find your way back over there. You know.
Yeah, I know. It's sometimes I do the same thing, mentor men. I'd say sometimes, bro, if you would just turn right, you'd realize the thing that you want is closer if you just turn right. Yeah. Like, you can turn left and go the long route, bro. But me, as I tell one of the sayings I have is that you can get your wisdom 2 ways. You can pay full price, or you can get it at a discount.
Yeah.
And I said, when you talk to me, you're getting your wisdom at discount, and get it. Like, get it whatever way you need to get it. But hey, you can get it cheaply from me. Just talk to me.
Right. You ain't got to go through all of that, right?
You don't. I mean, hey, if some people don't value a thing unless they pay full price, I'm not that kind of a person, but I know plenty that are. And I say, go ahead, bro. Go ahead and pay full price for that wisdom. I'll see you when you get back, and then we can have some conversations about the wisdom that you went and got. And now we can have some real good conversations, which is always a great thing to have when you're talking to young people.
That's powerful. That's a powerful way to put it. Yep. That's
real.
I
do the same thing. I've been, for the past 3 or 4 years, I've been a part of this organization, or this cohort called Fortify Our Rebel Youth. You know, and I teach yoga and lead meditation sessions and things like that, in addition to the coaching and all that. And they're just not into it. There's a lot of the students whose parents I know, and so they do it because they're scared that I'm gonna say something to their parents. But the kids that I don't know, they're like, we're not feeling this. But I never stop. And I tell them, you know, I was like, I love this. I have changed my life with this. I am not about to force you to do this. And I know that some of y'all are just too cool to do it. But what I will say is, if you're having a very bad day and there ain't nobody else around, you might want to Google some yoga or guided meditation on YouTube, because it can help. It can really help to shift the change in your day. So I'm not going to try to force it, but I definitely know how powerful it is. And so I just got to let you know.
Yeah.
That's real. And let them choose, right?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And I would imagine that many of them, some of them I think might have actually went home and did it within the course of that program, because I was surprised, especially this last group. We asked everybody, you know, what did they get most out of the program, or what was their favorite part of the program? And my feelings wasn't going to be hurt. But I did not expect anybody to say yoga or meditation. And we had a few people who said they appreciated the meditation. So, you know, it is what it is. And I'm convinced that whether somebody looks at it right away or not, even if one person 5 years down the road is having a bad day and decides to look up yoga on YouTube, then I did my job. I'm always only concerned with having an effect on one person at least, that's a
See,
win for me.
and that's huge because you're planting seeds, right?
Absolutely.
You're planting seeds, and when you're dealing with kids, especially, we have to have thick skin, right?
Yeah.
Because kids, they a lot of times they too cool for everything. First of all, so you come in, you like you said, you just got to just keep going, right? They may tell you later, hey, miss, that what was that YouTube thing you said?
Yeah, right.
I just had a conversation because I speak to the young people in Baltimore too, incarcerated youth.
Okay.
And I go there in person and sometimes I do it virtually. So this time I did it virtually. And I brought in a friend of mine who's a former NFL player. So he's speaking and it's all great. And, he's giving his words of wisdom and stuff like that. And then one of their questions was, have you ever been in jail like that? Right. And he doesn't have a background of being incarcerated and things of that nature. And some of them kind of try to blow it off at that point. Like, well, I want to hear from somebody who's been to jail. And I'm like, first of all, I jumped in. I was like, listen, if a person is in quicksand, I don't need to jump into quicksand to try to help you out the quicksand. I don't have to have been in quicksand, right?
Right.
I can definitely stand on solid ground and stay on solid ground and never get into quicksand, and I can still help you.
Absolutely.
That's the first thing. And secondly, I was telling after we debrief, I said, don't take none of that stuff personal. A lot of times these young people just, respectfully, they're kids. They want to be entertained. You know what I'm saying? They don't. I said, but we're going to give them these vitamins, whether they want it or not. We're going to give it to them because we plant seeds. Because like you said, it may 5 years from now.
Yeah.
You know what? I remember that, now they got something to hold on to. Yeah, they want to hear somebody come in and talk about war stories and jail, and that's entertaining. You know what I'm saying? So of course they want to hear it. Not saying that a person with, it can't, like there's value in having lived experience.
Absolutely.
But you don't have to have it. You know what I'm saying? Because but these kids will make you think if you're not entertaining them, you're falling short. And I was letting him know you got to keep going anyway. You know what I'm saying? You got to keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. They seem I have to, when I talk to young people, I always say that listening isn't with your eyes. It's with your ears. And so it doesn't really matter. I've spoken in front of some high school kids and they heads down in their phone doing all kinds of things, right? And then when you finally you really, they start to ask you questions about something. You just ask them a question about something, and it's something that's, I think that they're not even paying attention to. And because I'm an anime guy, and so it's always easy for me to talk about something about anime, and it pretty much gets the room going. And so I'll just be talking about product or something like that, and they'd be completely doing it, and I'll be saying, yeah, it's just like Goku and when he turns Super Saiyan, they all of a sudden like 6 heads look up and say, what do you know about Goku? And I say,
light up.
So you are listening. Cool. That's all I need to know. And so that's one of the things I try to do when I'm talking to young people is that they really do listen. And it's not with their eyes and with their face. It's really with their ears. And as long as you can not get sensitive to what they're doing, then it helps a lot.
Absolutely. That's a good way of putting it as well. Yeah, that's good because they'll pretend that they're not paying attention, right? But they hear. They hear. Absolutely.
Yeah, so back to the school. So you said that you taught 7th, 8th, and then 3 years of 6th. And what is it? Obviously, you shifted out of that. Like, why? What was that process like? I never was a school person. So even though I did great, you know what I'm saying, because I connected with those young people. That's what I was there for. But I never seen myself as being that teacher. That's 20 years, you come back to the school, they still in the same classroom, got the dittos on the wall, respect to those teachers, but that never was me. I always knew I was going to shift. So I wanted to make a deeper impact. So I started working with incarcerated youth. And that's when I ended up creating the Live Above the Hype curriculum. Because I wanted to connect with young people on a deeper level on some deeper issues.
Yeah.
School is, it's definitely PG at best, PG, as far as how the stuff you could deal with and talk about. Yeah. When I started working with them incarcerated, now it's full-fledged, like everything is on the table. Absolutely. So I was able to really work with these young men in a very deep way. And then so what happened is when I'm working with these young people, I've seen a lot of programs in there. You know, I'm out in the LA area. Some were good, some not so much, right?
Yeah.
And you know, we're in a time where everything is evidence-based.
Yeah.
So I'll sit back and I'll watch and I'll say, okay, this facilitator is good. I can see they're making impact, right? Okay, cool. This one over here, this program, y'all not doing nothing but giving out hot Cheetos and lemon cookies, right? And then having them fill out the survey saying that everything is good. You know, you have a pizza party and then have them fill out the survey. So, but y'all not doing nothing.
Right.
But the survey says this is working. So they take it back and you just keep getting funding. So that's just what I saw. So I created a curriculum because I wanted to speak to these young people in a very real way. Because I saw a lot of the programs, even the quote unquote good ones, wasn't addressing the issues. It was good for them to have a getaway. You know what I mean? To have them escape, because they need that too. So it may be a art type of program, or art center program, which is great because it's good. It works with the trauma. Getting all that stuff out is great.
Yeah.
But these young people need, on top of that, not instead of that, but with that as well, they needed some character development, some life skills. Again, back to what we've been saying this whole time. We don't know what we don't know. Right. We needed something so after all of the I feel better and stuff, I'm still going back to being Big Spider or whoever from the hood.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So how do we change that? You know what I'm saying? Or not even change that, address that.
Yeah.
So I created a curriculum called Live Above the Hype that really started asking these reflective questions and having them do some self introspection, observe and observe and reflect on the society, how society, and just and what role do you play in it? And just getting them to think, like I would ask them something like this, in my curriculum. I would say, because I'm using their language because this is their life. I'm like, if we were shooting dice, would you bet $1,000 to my $10? Would you put $1,000 on the ground and I'll put $10 on the ground and we shoot dice? No, I wouldn't do that.
Right.
Why not? Because you only putting up $10. I'm putting up 1,000. I said, but you got a chance to win 10. So who cares what you putting up? You got a chance to win 10. No, that don't make sense. That don't make sense. I say, why? Because I got more to lose in that situation than the game.
Yeah.
So now you get it. When you out here in these streets, most of the time you got way more to lose than you have to gain. Right? When you go break in that house, you may come out with a few $100s or even a few $1,000s. But if you get caught and you got to do 2-3 years in prison, was it worth it? You could have made that. What you got from that lick, that you could have made that on a minimum wage job. You know what I'm saying? So you got way more to lose than you have to gain.
Wow.
Oh, sir, I never thought of it like that. Just getting them to think,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's dope. And so did you have your own nonprofit, or were you a part of another organization, or how did you get to working with the incarcerated youth?
So I had went through the probation department.
Okay.
And I was working with them through there. And then I created the Live Above the Hype just as a tool, and it was literally just for them. And then as I kept writing, it became so good. I'm like, I could package this.
Yeah.
So then I packaged it, and I'm the type, I'm a perfectionist, I guess. So I had, I got to get the cover design, instead of having it in a binder, I went and got it. I started my own publishing company and I published it. Yeah. And I published it. And then what happened, which ties into how we met, what happened is when I published the book, it was selling. And a friend of mine was like, K-Ron, you should really consider doing a trainer for this curriculum, because you don't want to just give this curriculum out and people don't know how to use it. You're assuming that everybody has the same lens that you have.
Yeah, exactly.
So I put together a training, and
good for you.
As I started to speak and train and things of that nature on this, I started to see, wait a minute, I could really do this. I'm actually a good speaker. People actually want to hear what I have to say. Yeah. So then I started just developing my speaking skills, and I started speaking at conferences and putting trainings on all kinds of different topics. And that's how I launched my training consultant company. You know, so now I'm a full-fledged training consultant where, you know, and that's how we met when I was speaking out there in Denver, where people contract me to do trainings. And I, you know, again, I speak to some of these challenging topics that's not always easy to navigate.
I hear that. So that's Inner Sun Consulting.
Yeah, it's Inner Sun Consulting, absolutely.
Awesome. So you went from teaching to working with the probation organization.
Yep, probation youth, yep.
And then you started Inner Sun Consulting as kind of the timeline.
Yep.
That gets us to here. And where in there did you write beyond the crack generation?
So I wrote after I did Live Above the Hype and published that, and that was going. And now I'm a trainer. I've already started Inner Sun.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the Beyond the Crack generation comes from.
Mm-hmm.
I published that too. That's part of, I mean, obviously, like I said, a publishing company where when I was doing the trainings, like there's a lot of stuff, and like I always share with people, the content may be the same, but the training is always different because there's so much stuff that comes out depending on what you ask me. You know,
right, for sure.
And some of this stuff is like, I should have documented that. You know what I'm saying? I should have, you know, and I recognize everybody's not going to go through my training. So I put a lot of the stuff that I talk about in my trauma trainings and things of that nature in this book. I wanted to have another tool to capture a lot of this information. And again, I'm not going to necessarily be in the training telling my story. But I can do it in the book. And I didn't want to do like an autobiography, like just talk about me for the sake of talking about me. Yeah. I want, you know what I mean? I think I'm an interesting person, but it's not that, you know. So I wanted it to be tied into this work. And I was like, what else can I create to help empower other people that's doing this work? And that's when I wrote that book, to help people get a different lens on some of this stuff.
That's dope. And when, so what's the name of the publishing company?
Inner Sun.
Okay.
Yep. So my company is called Inner Sun Inc. And then I have the publishing under it. I have my trainings under it. You know, all these type of things, they fall under the umbrella of Inner Sun Inc.
Okay.
Nice. And I noticed on your webpage that Dr. Michael Eric Dyson and Kevin Powell, you know, they big up the book. You know, did you meet them through the publishing company? How did you make those kind of contacts?
Through doing the work. See, everything about me is organic. So I met.
Sounds like it.
Let me tell you how I met Dr. Michael Eric Dyson first. So I told you I'm a rapper, right? At this time, I'm a rapper. And, you know, he's always talking about Tupac. And, you know, I never heard anybody talk like him at the time. Like, he used to use these words. I'm like, he's like a verbal gymnast, right? He is. Words. I'm like, man, who is this man?
Yeah, he could flip a turn.
Oh, man, this was, I probably was about, how old was I at this time? I probably was about 22, 23 when I first started teaching. Okay. And I'm watching him on BET one day. I'm like, who is this man? Right? He was talking about Tupac. He had just dropped the Tupac book. I'm like, I got to meet him. Next thing you know, I want to say a couple of weeks later, maybe about a month later, he's going to be I'm in Pasadena. He's going to be in Pasadena City College.
What?
I don't know how I found out or nothing. I found out the same day. Phew, I'm there.
Yeah.
So I go there and I'm standing in line. Now, mind you, you're supposed to stand in line to buy a book and get a sign. Yep. I'm financially challenged at the time, so I can't buy a book, but I'm still in line. So as soon as I get up there, you know, it's my turn to get up there. I just start rapping for him. I don't say hi. I don't say nothing.
Hit him with it. All right.
Boom.
Lay them bars down on him.
Bars, right? So he liked it. He was like, man, take my number down. So he gave me his number, and we stayed in touch from there. Now, the interesting thing about when I say we stayed in touch is I would call. He never picks up. Not one time. He never picks up. Right. But I never took it personal. So I just keep calling. And then I remember seeing him at the State of the Black Union out here in LA. And I got to him again. Now, mind you, this is like years later.
Yeah.
And I see him. And I'm like, Dr. Dyson. He said, K-Ron. I'm like, First of all, how does his man remember me? He's never picked up the phone. We've never talked since that day.
Oh my God.
He remembers me. He's like, K-Ron, right? I'm like, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
man, take my new number down. And he gave me the number. All right. The only reason I'm telling you this because he talks about it, right?
Yeah.
I'll tell you where. So I'm emailing him, all of this stuff. I'm calling him because I end up getting his email off the online. Never picks up the phone, like never, right? Never, because he's just busy. But I could tell you something in a minute. I found out why. So, but this is what's happening. So anyway, boom, that happens. What happens after that? Oh, so that happens, but I still stay in touch, and I never took it personal because he doesn't owe me anything.
Right.
But when I wrote Beyond the Crowd, when I wrote Live Above the Hype, I reached out to him, I emailed him and said, would you write a forward for me? He's never responded to nothing. He emailed me, but it took weeks. He emailed me the whole forward.
Wow.
I'm like, what?
Oh, wow.
Oh my gosh,
Look
my
at
whole
that.
heart.
I'm like, what? And
Wow.
in this forward, he's saying, well, this story, he's saying it. I met this young charismatic man at Pasadena City College, and he's saying, I wasn't the mentor that I should have been,
Wow.
He's saying all this in the forward. I should have been there. So don't make the same mistake that I made and not take this brother as serious as he is, because he's the real deal. And he's giving all this in the forward, and he's been somewhat of a mentor to me, the mentor I should have been to him. This is all right in writing.
Wow.
Wow.
So
Man.
that brother is amazing. I'm like, I don't know. I remember seeing him one time somewhere else. Anytime I see him, it's love.
Yeah, I bet.
I said, Dr. Dyson, K-Ron, oh, I heard you was in Baltimore. So he still keeps up. He gets all my emails. He just doesn't respond.
Yeah, right. He's taking it in.
Yeah. So I told you, I'll tell you one thing about that. He had a Michael Eric Dyson show, and I for a while, and I went, and I saw what he does. He has his phone. He has an assistant. He gives his phone to his assistant. So assistant carries his phone most of the day. You know what I'm saying? So by the time he gets it, it's probably like 30,000 messages. So I say, oh, okay, now I see what goes on. But I never took nothing he did personal. I've always had a approach of nobody owes me anything.
Yeah.
I could be like, he don't get back with me. He don't have to.
Right.
He's right.
So I've always had that energy, and I guess that energy came back where, you know what I'm saying? And that's how I met Dyson,
Nice.
Yeah.
That is an amazing story.
Yeah. Kevin Powell's a little different. I met him. How did I meet Kevin Powell? That's a good question. How did I meet Kevin Powell? Oh, wait. Oh, no. I met Kevin Powell because I heard him too, and I saw the work that he was doing and all this stuff. Like, man, this brother's powerful. And on the back of one of his books he had his email on there. And I emailed him. And then we started a conversation through email. Then he said, I'll be in LA one day. And when he came to LA, I came out and I was where he was at, and we just developed a friendship. And then he ended up saying, he wanted to put on some kind of event, and he wanted to bring people from all over the country, thought leaders all over the country, to put this event on. And he was like, we're meeting in New York. He invited me to go to there. And I had never really traveled. I had never been that far before. So I went there, and we really solidified our relationship with, and that's why I started being, again, self-limiting beliefs. I never passed Indiana. I went to Indiana because I lived there, but going to New York, I don't do that. But then I broke out of that. Now I travel everywhere, right? Recently got my passport, so now I'm about to be international. But I met him again through doing the work.
Nice.
That's definitely travel abroad. As a person of color, it will expand. You talk about a box. Yeah, that a room will get bigger and a lot larger. Going overseas is definitely a place to go. And it doesn't matter. I've been to Europe for the most part, and it changes your whole perspective.
Wow. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Anywhere outside of the United States, I could pretty much say. You can get an experience that I've been to Europe. Ain't no black folks where I went. I went to Vienna, Germany, and I didn't see anybody black, and It is in America, I can tell you that. As a tall Black man walking around, it was different.
Really?
Wow.
It was.
Like no fear.
Yeah, no fear, no threatening, no none of that. It's just you're a person walking around. There's the way they. I went to this conference, man. I could not tell you how many people in Europe would say, "Oh, I was pretty old at that particular time," and they would say stuff to me, and they'd say, "Oh, how old am I?" They said, "Of course, your skin is great because you're a superior human being." Like these are the types of things. Yes, these are the types of things that happen when you get in Europe and you start having conversations. They recognize facts, and they will not deny it. That's what I can say to you. And as being an original man, they know this as a fact and they function in it.
They acknowledge it, huh? Wow, that's powerful.
Flat out. That's shocking. You could have not have. Look, you don't know me. I'm 6'3", OL over 200. And you could have knocked me over with a feather when the first time a white man said to me, "Of course, you're a part of the original man. You're just built better than us, right? That's the way. You're just genetically superior, period." And yeah, but why are you talking to me this way, right? You didn't. I didn't ask you for this, and you're volunteering it just based off of having a conversation with me and just admitting a fact is no different of a fact than I'm tall. That's how matter of fact he is about it. He was about it.
Wow. That's
powerful.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's powerful. Yeah, I'm going somewhere, especially.
Yeah, go someplace. And when you go, talk to people.
Yeah.
They're not nice, but they are kind. That's if when you realize the difference between nice and kind. Yeah. They're not the nicest people, but they are extremely kind. If you put effort into talking to them, they will absolutely have a conversation with you, and it won't be anything. They don't have the niceties that Americans have. Hey, smile at people and wave. We got all these things to make us all seem not threatening to each other. Yeah. Over there, they don't care.
Right.
That's really real too. And it's so funny that you use those words, because I feel like as I have come more into my authentic self and really like shed the people pleaser and all that, I've had to tell several people lately, it's like, I'm not a nice person anymore. Yeah. I'm kind, but I'm not nice. And, the etymology of the word nice is stupid. So when you really start to think about that, it's probably nobody's, it's probably not good to strive to be nice.
Yeah, yes, it's not a thing to aspire to be.
Because I think what nice means, if we separate it from all the way back when it was stupid, it means that you're wearing a mask. And like you said, we're trying to let everybody know I'm not about to kill you right now. And like, if you in a healthy environment, you probably don't have to do that. You shouldn't.
You wouldn't need to
do that.
Because this is such a violent place.
Yeah, it's in everything.
America's very, very violent place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We actually tiptoeing around each other.
All of the time. All the time.
Wow.
Awesome. So this has been really cool. I'm really grateful for the way that this has turned out. I call it Hella Random Radio because I try not to script it too much. And I think it's going amazing. I just have 3 more questions and we'll just see how long it takes. Number 1 is, if you only had 3 minutes, to speak life into a youth or try to give them something that they will carry with them, whether they believe it or not, what would that be?
I would say you're meant for greatness. Define what that it means for you, though. Greatness doesn't necessarily mean being famous. Doesn't necessarily mean having a big bag of money. But whatever it is to you, you're meant to be the greatest you that you can be. You know what I'm saying? And like I say, live above the hype. There's always a hype going on around you, telling you who you should be, what you should be aspiring for, what's in, what's not. You're good. You are already good. Now you can, continue to evolve, but you're great. Walk in it. That's what I would say.
Ashe.
Yeah.
And how about 3 minutes for an adult? Is it the same speech?
Literally the same thing.
Nice.
Because a lot of times we do not grow out of our self-limiting beliefs.
Right.
When I was getting into this work, there was a sister who was somewhat of a mentor to me. I used to, when I started getting into the work, like outside of teaching and things of that nature, I used to line myself up with different organizations that I believed in. I never joined any organizations, you know, but I would line myself up with them and collaborate with them. And then when I go somewhere, I would go, you know, kind of on their name.
Yeah.
And the sister said, why do you feel you have to do that? You know, your name is strong enough. What you do is strong enough, right? And because I've always thought I couldn't do it, you know.
Yeah.
And she said, if you need permission to do this work and to be great, let me give it to you. You have permission to be great. And for whatever reason, it felt like a weight was lifted off of me, and I guess I needed that permission.
Yeah.
So I would give adults the same talk. Sometimes we need permission to be great.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like, who do you think you are? You know, people ask that. You know, you think you're too good for this? And I used to tell people all the time, yeah, there's certain things I'm too good for, and there should be certain things you're too good for.
Right.
Right? There's nothing wrong with that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. So I would give them the same thing. Be great.
Right. And the last question is, what about the music? Like, I understand that that's not like a gig you're trying to have, but do you practice at all?
Yeah, I still record. I got a studio back there. I got a whole studio. If you could see my office, you'll see how it's set up. I got a whole music studio back there. Now, will anybody ever hear it? That's another story. But I got a lot of music on my hard drive just sit there, and I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would love it if you would send me some favorites that maybe I can incorporate into this interview somehow. I think that would be cool. Or maybe start with one and end with one or something like that.
Okay.
But yes, thank you so much for taking your time to have this conversation. Thank you for everything, you know, that you are doing out here in the world. You definitely made an impression on me in your time here in Denver. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful.
Right on. Thank you for having me. It was great meeting you, brother Michael. Yeah, great meeting you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe we can connect with when you get back.
Yeah,
I definitely want to have that conversation.
I'm down.
Awesome. And Michael, do you have any questions or anything before we close out?
No, I don't. I'm thankful to you both. And I'll say this. It's very difficult to find our people and can have good conversation and talk about things that isn't what corporate America tells us what we should be talking about. And that's a powerful message that needs to be sent out and need to be shared, irregardless of how many people hears it. If it's just one person can affect the world. And I think that's important to say. And I encourage you both to continue doing what you're doing. I say that to myself all the time, as I need to continue on doing what I'm doing, no matter who's seeing it and no matter what belief that I have in what it affects. And so I say that to both of you. Continue doing the work and planting the seeds, right? That's what we're all doing when we get older, and we're all branches of seeds that were planted inside of us.
Absolutely. I received that. Thank you.
Ashe. Well, thank y'all so much. And thank anybody who's listening to this for putting your time and energy into Hello Random Radio, where positive energy live. Please like, share, subscribe, comment, anything to help this message go farther and brighter. And yes, the next interview will be with Lord Zen Realism from the Visionaries. So stay tuned.
Peace.
We all got a story to tell, right? It's a long time coming. Look, Morton had a dream, Malcolm did by any means. K give it how I live it, speak to city thieves. Used to be a boy in the hood with city dreams, mad rapper. Now I'm Furious Styles, the city king. Look, started off lost in Babylon's paradise. Did a full circle, now I'm square as a paradise. So many want the crown, very few can wear it right. So many living foul, never learn to cherish life. Sad story when your kinfolk is smoked out. Done seen a dime rock turn a home into a dope house. A 9 cock with 5 shots on the crime spot. A dime drop, the homie lock, feeling time stop. You ever seen your own uncle hit a crack rock? Find your stash spot, running off yelling jackpot. Feel the pressure, uncle put you in a bad spot. Got the heat, sliding out the dresser like a matchbox. I'm Coach Carter, I ain't never been no mascot. Teach these kids, never let the hood be your last stop. Keep it fresh, tuxedo and an ash guy. You heard of me, still can't see me like I'm Sasquatch. Big dreams come with little sleeping, and quick schemes come with little speaking. It's all relevant. Done seen detectives in the trash of my residence, trying to find some evidence, but details is delicate. One slip could make a witness out of co-defendant, and one tip could make a business go independent. The crack generation packed with black innovation, back-to-back litigation, never lack motivation. We took pebbles, turned them into mountains, in the ghetto but was counting thousands. My cousin had the intercourse with the public housing. Birds and the bees, chickens kept the buzz around them. I'm trying to paint a picture of a teenager making green paper, make the scene major on the low, but couldn't help but be a scene maker. When it was on, left the trigger blow. Flashy cars, but wasn't old enough to hit the liquor store. You understand our mindset? You understand this bomb threat? Understand 20 years later we got a complex? Understand traumatized as kids but ain't cried yet? Trying to give you content to put things in context. Wait a minute, I used to watch my favorite rapper rock the way to fit it. I used to listen to their lyrics and the way they spit it. I used to pray to God and one day I could make a living, rapping about the way I'm living, talking about the pain I'm feeling. All I wanted was a way to score, a little fame so they would pay me more. 100 G's with some G's on the Vegas tour, and party with some famous whores as they sang my chorus. Stay out the friend zone, but nowadays I break the self-hate syndrome that's plaguing our skin tone and figure where we went wrong. Life's a gemstone, help my people get on and do it quick, cause revolutionaries don't live long.
See, when we was coming up, wasn't nobody talking about the effects of trauma and social, emotional intelligence and all the stuff that we dealing with now. We just had to go through it, you know what I'm saying? And you see all the madness in the hoods, this is the fruit of it. You feel me? Just think about it. We grew up with broken homes, crack epidemic, single parent households, broken education, all of that, and you expect us to just win. How we gonna win with no blueprint? But we gonna figure it out and get it right.